Golden ratio. Why Ken's wrong. The golden ratio is a quirky number about which mathematicians have noticed all kinds of fun facts. Find out why Ken Wheeler takes these random anomalies to extremes to defend his unfounded, bizarre convictions about metaphysics. Going back to Pythagoras, philosophers have studied a number called the golden ratio, or phi. Phi is a ratio with an irrational number in a Greek letter, somewhat like pi, but its value is 1.61803 and so on. Whereas pi is the ratio between a circle's circumference and its diameter, phi is a bit trickier to explain. Imagine a line divided into two unequal segments. The golden ratio, phi, is the number where the relationship between the longer segment and the shorter segment is the same as the relationship between the overall length of the line and the longer segment. Here's a diagram to clarify. Kentucky Ken decrees that phi is the ratio and relationship of the monad to its increasingly phenomenal self-image in emanation. Phi does have some cool properties. For example, phi squared equals 2.618 and so on, which is exactly phi plus 1. Another fun fact about phi is that 1 divided by phi equals 0.618 and so on, or exactly phi minus 1. This relationship between phi and 1 seems mystical to some people. Ken Wheeler is fond of saying that 1 is to phi as phi is to 1. Another interesting aspect of the golden ratio is its relationship with spirals. The logarithmic spirals we see in ferns and seashells can reflect the golden ratio. We sometimes see these spirals in nature because they're an efficient way to pack and use space that evolution rewards. This fascination with phi isn't the Theoria Apophasis producer's only foray into numerical sophistry. For example, he also expounds on the Fibonacci sequence. Ken Wheeler claims that the Fibonacci sequence beginning with 1, 1, 2, 3, 5 is both ancient and mystical. Fibonacci first published his sequence in 1202 CE. Pythagoras, whom Ken Wheeler claims revered the Fibonacci sequence, died in 495 BC. There's no evidence Pythagoras had ever heard of the Fibonacci sequence. Ken Wheeler has come up with his own mathematical expression involving the golden ratio. His mystical formula is 1 over phi to the negative 3. Viewers who haven't worked with negative exponents since high school may find this expression confusing. That's what the angry photographer is counting on. Others will realize his formula is convoluted and needs to be simplified. 1 over phi to the negative 3 is simply phi cubed. Ken Wheeler seems to have derived his formula from a passage in Plato's Republic. In the dialogue, Socrates and his friend Glaucon are discussing a line divided into segments. They're talking about the difference between opinion and knowledge, not geometry. The angry photographer's opinion, so to speak, is that Socrates wants him to divide the sections using the golden ratio, which Socrates never mentions anywhere. The host of Theoria Apophasis goes on to explain, but 1 over phi to the negative 3 is not a mere number, rather the expression of the one against itself and manifestation in the most perfect and divine logos, the proportions of perfection itself as recognized by the immortals. Don't try to make sense of that paragraph. There's more to the angry photographer's bizarre approach to arithmetic. He misapplies his notions to geometry as well. The Theoria Apophasis host mistakenly refers to an isosceles triangle with angles of 108 degrees, 36 degrees, and 36 degrees as a Pythagorean triangle. No doubt his diagram will clarify everything. Then again, maybe not. Ken Wheeler has marked his triangle's height as 1 over phi, or 0.618033, etc., which would be freaky if true, because his 1 to phi relationship pops up out of nowhere. However, applying our high school Pythagorean theorem, or a ruler, We find the height of a triangle with these dimensions equals 0.588, and not 0.618 or 1 over 5. The angry photographer is fudging his figures. Ken Wheeler goes on to claim that his obscure triangle is the basis for something called the Pythagorean tetractys. It's not. Tetra is the Greek word for 4, and triangles have 3 angles and 3 sides, so a triangle can't be a tetractys. The 4 rows of a Pythagorean tetractys don't involve the number 5. They're simply the sequence 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10, and scholars sometimes presented it like this. How do any of the Theoria Apophasis creators' notions unlock the mysteries of the universe? Your guess is as good as anyone's. All of this kind of sacred geometry usually falls within the occult nonsense Ken Wheeler condemns at his corner bookshop. Although the angry photographer is a glaring example, we're all subject to the same kind of selective perception. If we could objectively examine every one of our beliefs, we'd all find some inconsistencies. In the case of the Theoria Apophasis producer, he dismisses such pseudoscience as crystal healing, astrology, and the flat earth movement, yet, in the same breath, Ken Wheeler will defend his beliefs in conspiracy theories and occult nonsense like ghosts, demons, dowsing, UFOs, and, in this case, numerology. In a sense, the angry photographer is a victim of an all-too-common human foible. Even so, he's so arrogant and fanatical that it's all but impossible to care.